I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Adeline Hilligoss will be leading us this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, are there any changes or revisions to the regular or consent agendas?
One item to add, letter H, under new business, consideration of middle school, high school stage.
Anything else? All right, I'll take a motion to approve the regular and consent agendas as amended.
I move to approve the regular consent agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
We made the motion to approve the regular and consent agendas as amended, and Wade seconded that. All those in favor? Recognitions and information. Students of the month. If Adeline would stand a little bit to the side of that podium, that way you'll be on the
Perfect. Okay.
and we can see you.
Awesome. I would like to introduce Adeline Hilligoss. She is our student of the month for Central Elementary. Mrs. Klein is her teacher, and Mrs. Klein said Adeline is a third grade student at Central. She demonstrates virtue every day by doing what is right, even when others aren't. She never backs down from a challenge. She works hard and strives to do her best. Adeline is also courageous. She stands up for what is right and is a good friend to everyone. She is a prime example of what we hope our students represent at Central Elementary.
Okay, and from Fillmore Elementary, Everett McCormick.
All right, this is Everett McCamick, and he is Fillmore Elementary Student of the Month. And Everett was nominated by Mrs. Ames, his teacher. And Mrs. Ames said that Everett demonstrates all the qualities we look for in a student leader. He's patient, kind, studious, a good friend, and a good classmate. So Everett is a quiet leader. He's always setting a good example for others, and he works hard and has made tremendous academic gains this school year. So we are thankful to have Everett as part of our FES family. So those are comments from Mrs. Ames, and as Everett's principal, I can tell you that I can always count on Everett to be a good example. He has a positive attitude towards school every day, and I'm just really happy to have Everett at Fillmore Elementary School. So congratulations to Everett McCamick.
And from the middle school and high school, Willa Holderfield and Ashton Nichols.
So my students aren't here tonight, but I still want to go ahead and read you some important information about them. So first of all, Willa was nominated by Brad Hudson at the middle school. Willa is generous, helpful in class, and considerate of other people's feelings. She treats others with respect and is respected by her peers. Willa helps and supports other students in such a quiet and gentle way. I don't even think she realizes that she's being helpful to them. Sometimes she gives answers and helps her peers to put pressure off of them. She's very involved in multiple extracurricular activities and athletics and is excited to be starting basketball season. Willa's kindness does not go unnoticed by those around her, and I'm grateful to have her as a role model in class. So, congratulations to Willa. And then our other student of the month is Ashton Nichols. And Ashton was nominated by McKenna Jones. I would like to nominate Ashton Nichols as Student of the Month. I've had the pleasure of having Ashton in class for both his sophomore and junior year. During this time, Ashton has proven himself as an exemplary example of the type of person we all hope students will become. Of course, Ashton does all the things that good students do. He's polite and attentive and never disruptive. However, Ashton stands out from the rest due to his capacity for genuine empathy. Many of the students in Ashton's age have not yet developed this ability to truly imagine what it must be like to walk in another person's shoes, though they try. Ashton, however, seems to understand this deeply. Last week, I watched Ashton take it upon himself to work with a student that was struggling to find a group to work with in class. Ashton could have remained with his group of friends without consequence, and no one would have asked him to leave his friends to work with that student. Yet when Ashton heard that the student expressed some concern about finding a group, he got up, moved to the other student's table. And this created a bit of a chain reaction, causing one of his friends to join him, and pretty soon the student who was concerned about finding a group had a whole group to work with. This is not the only time that Ashton has gone out of his way to make someone feel welcome. Ashton regularly takes it upon himself to work with students who need it, and even when he probably doesn't feel like leaving his own friend group. He always makes an effort to include everyone. To me, this is a clear indication of Ashton's capacity for kindness and empathy, as well as his leadership skills. This is exactly the type of thing teachers hope to see in their students. Ashton sets the example for his friends, spreading kindness wherever he goes, whether he means it or not, and for this reason, I'm nominating Ashton Nichols. And again, that was by McKenna Jones, his English teacher. So congratulations.
Thank you, principals and teachers. Most little ones have left, but if there are any others that would like to leave at this time, you're more than welcome to do that. Financial update.
Sorry, technical duties over here. My apologies. Yeah, in your packets, you have the latest financial reports through the end of the month of January. Those are included the cash flows and all the fund reports and all the summaries that you received as well. In summary, we continue to track positively with all of our forecasted income, expenses, and cash balances, which is a good sign. Additionally, we have made some positive adjustments to the fund report, which you may have seen, and some of our processes as per the State Board of Accounts guidance. And on that note, our biennial State Board of Accounts audit concluded earlier this month, and the reports will be generated by the State Board of Accounts in the coming months.
Did we get a notification of that, or
it's just when it's on their website, it's on their website.
it's on the website? So for those of us who would like to read it, you can just keep looking at the
Yes.
website.
Yeah, we'll get you that information on where we can get you that. Yep. Sorry, I apologize for this.
All right. Legislative update.
So most of what you've been seeing in the emails has been through some of that stuff at the ISBA State House Day. Is that I went, had lunch there provided by the ISBA. Panels of legislators coming up and discussing why they vote certain ways on bills and things that they want to see happen. A lot of good conversation there. Out of that, we found that the number one bill that the ISB recognizes as the most important, most significant K-12 education bill this session is Senate Bill 1, reading skills. It looks like it's going to pass. I think there's been a lot of support for it. It's the lower number bills usually are the ones that have, especially those are the ones that usually pass. So that one's most likely going to happen. It basically addresses early measures for reading proficiency. And Senate Bill 6 also addresses reading proficiency. That also it requires development of methods to identify students who might be at risk of proficiency and kind of sets forth a path to guide how to do those things.
Before you move on, I think that the big thing that I took away from those bills, whether they're in the House or committee or whatever, is the retention thing. So, yeah, there seems to be a disagreement whether a child should be, whether retention should be required or left up to the schools. So if you have an opinion on that, administrators might voice that. I don't know where those bills, I think they're in the House right now. And so getting tweaked or whatever.
Second reading,
but,
I think,
yeah.
I think that one actually, as of Friday, was going through. It would be in second reading this week. And then Senate Bill 6 used the House for second reading. So both of those, basically both of those have 10 votes. Oh, I'm sorry, one of them is 9 votes, the other one is 10 votes. But that just means that there's traction, it's things being tweaked and going back and forth is likely to pass. But it is always, and they said this, all the legislators said this, if you don't call and don't express some sort of direction one way or the other, they have to assume that people like where things are going. And like we learned the last session, they actually talked about it a little bit. Right at the last minute, enough people, I was one of them that started listening to some of the teachers' concerns about some of the funding. I was on the phone, writing letters, sending emails, and it helped. Everybody, all the advocacy groups are chiming in at the last minute. So if you see a call for action in your email and you want to support the direction the ISBA thinks you should go, that's something you can do. Just send it to them. They make it really easy. Just click it.
With that specific bills related to the early literacy, there hasn't been any specific call to actions on those specific bills, have there?
On that one, I don't think there has. Directly, the last one that had a call to action was the referendum one, I think. So they are actively, like Lisa said, there's kind of two sides. Some people say, well, you need to hold it back, and some people say, well, you need to address the problem before it becomes a problem. And they went through probably 25, 30 minutes of conversation just about that topic. So pretty intense. And they all make points that are good for them. So if you feel a certain way or want to talk to anybody about it, Terry is also available and put the information out there. The other piece, there were that was the other one, the student use of wireless communications. That is probably going to pass. That's SB 185. That one is, I don't know what the details were on that one.
I thought that one had already passed.
It did pass out of committee unanimously, but that's just out of committee.
Okay.
On that note, we met with John Crane on Saturday at the Farm Bureau meeting, and he also mentioned that SB 185 is not going to pass. And what that does is it addresses, just like it says, use of wireless communications by students. And the school safety, we didn't talk much about that one, but the various education matters. You have, that's 1380. You had some thoughts on that. We discussed that a little bit on Saturday.
Yeah, at the time, it was getting ready to go because it was a House bill. So the Senate was getting ready to look at it in committee. And it had the things about the, I can't remember, there was something about school buses. The state kind of wanted to take over that.
Yeah.
There were four
transfer
things.
tuition, burden in special education,
Yeah.
due process, prohibit school corporation from requiring parents to enter into a reservation agreement, and non-disclosure.
And there was a call to action on that. So there were 4 items within that ISBA was not a fan of. And those, all four of those things are listed, and Terry Stradlin mentioned in his video updates. So you might just check that out.
It's a good video. The HB 1376 is the school control project referendum bill, ISBA. So it was called action.
But that's the one that's still in committee, and Senator Crane didn't seem to think that it would.
Thought it might fit.
Yeah.
So.
Public comment? Do we have anyone who would comment? All right, under new business A, we have a hearing on additional appropriations. So we have to suspend our business meeting tonight to do that. So I would like to have a motion to suspend our regular business meeting and open the additional appropriations.
I'll move to suspend the regular business meeting and open the additional appropriations hearing.
Wade made the motion to suspend the regular business meeting and open the additional appropriations hearing. Holly seconded that. All those in favor? Thank you. So now we have Dr. Penrod. Thank you, Dr. Penrod, for joining us.
Yeah, how's everybody doing tonight?
Doing well.
Good. So thanks for having me. It's a little bit different, but we've done this before. So I'll kind of explain what I mean. We've done this process before. We go through the bond process. Just like anything else, we're going to money coming in on the bond. So we have to ask for additional appropriation to be able to spend that money. So the money can sit there, but without an appropriation, the board and the school doesn't have permission to spend it. But the board gives permission by doing the appropriation. So in this case, this is a bond money we're talking about. This is debt service fund money. And so as you recall, when we were doing the budget starts kind of in earnest in April and May. It really gets going in July and August. Gets approved in gets a hearing in September, and then gets approved in October. So at that point in time, we have a couple of the things we're looking at. We're trying to make our tax rate where the school would like the tax rate to be, so we don't hit taxpayers with a tax increase or anything like that. So we're trying to, kind of for lack of a better word, we're estimating what the payment is going to be on the bond that is going to be sold after the budget's done. So if you remember the timing of that, approved budget in October, but the bond actually didn't get sold and closed on until, I want to say, early December, maybe even mid-December. So when we estimated that payment, we were fine as far as the levy. We got your tax rate right where we wanted to be, but the appropriation we asked for was $26,000 short once we sold the bond and did the amortization schedule and did the repayment. So we're asking for permission to spend an additional $26,000. It's already been levied for. It was in the levy. It was in the budget. It just wasn't advertised. It was just advertised $26,000 short. So again, the levy will pay for it. The tax rate will pay for it. All that stuff remains the same. We're just simply asking to spend what the actual payment was. I know that's kind of a lot, so I'll be glad to answer your questions. But we went through this in the past on where we didn't ask for the appropriation. We actually cut the appropriation. We asked for, say, $4 million, and we cut it down to where it should have been. In this case, we're just kind of doing that.
So,
Doesn't change anything.
right. Okay, so do we have any public comment on the additional appropriations?
No, no one signed it.
Thank you, Dr. Penrod. And I'll take a motion to close the additional appropriations hearing and resume the regular business meeting.
I'll make a motion to close the additional appropriations hearing and resume the regular business meeting.
I'll second.
Holly made the motion to close the additional appropriations hearing and resume adjourn the regular business meeting. Lee seconded that. All those in favor? Okay. Consideration of adoption of the additional appropriation resolution. So now that we know, we have to vote on. I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the additional appropriation resolution.
Second.
Holly made the motion to approve the additional appropriation resolution. Wade seconded it. All those in favor? All right, item C, corporation policy update, second reading.
As introduced and discussed last month's school board meeting, as a first reading, tonight we're formally acknowledging the second reading of the proposed updates to the Neola policies. Our hope is to approve these policies and get them published online to reflect the latest changes to policy requirements and the legislative updates.
Any questions or discussion?
Do you have any discussion?
No, I had a few that I talked to Dr. Smith about this morning, and I know some of you have as well. Wade, do you have?
They're just more curiosities and questions that I can talk to Corey about. It's no concerns.
I just had some little things, as they come up. Mine mostly had to do with, the background check things with our third party vendors. And we use state hiring for substitute teachers now that we have to approve. That was my other question, how that works and who's responsible and accountable. So, yeah, I got all that. I did have a question too on the mandatory curriculum, Wade, which I know you had some questions on as well. And what I got out of that is the state tells us what to do. We have to see what we're supposed to do, but it's really the administrators that are doing the tough work of reading through all this and making sure it's implemented. And after talking to Dr. Smith this morning, I feel very confident that our administrators are doing a great job. Thank you, because that can't be a lot of fun.
And I only raised some questions on the ones that were some of the newer legislation, just to make sure that it's covered, and it sounds like it is.
Yeah. I will say on the library stuff, I had a meeting this afternoon with other board presidents in our region, and that was one of the questions they asked was, how is that going for all of us? And no one has had any problem with parents causing problems or anything. So I'm extremely thankful for that. But I also know from talking to Dr. Smith this morning that we've always had procedures in place that sort of take care of that. So, and clearly those are working. Or anything else or discussion or questions, comments, concerns? Okay. So we can approve that.
I move to approve the corporation policy update.
Joe made the motion to approve corporation policy update. We seconded it. All those in favor? Next is item E, consideration of South Putnam Youth League facility use agreement.
In your board packets are the request forms and the insurance certificate for the South Putnam Youth League. We're seeking approval, it's basically a reapproval, of the facility use agreements for both baseball and football, as details in those packets and those forms. The Youth League has been a fantastic partner with South Putnam, and we look forward to additional opportunities to enhance our student participation in these Youth League sponsored activities.
We do this every year,
Pretty much, yes.
right?
Yeah, it's just
Is that because it only lasts for a year?
Agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move to approve the South Putnam Youth League facility use agreements.
Second.
He made the motion to approve the South Putnam Youth League facility use agreements. Wade seconded it. All Item F, consideration of Fillmore kindergarten restroom.
As part of our goal to fully utilize all of our facilities in the district and to accommodate new students in our new preschool and the ONT Life Skills classrooms, we need to make some adjustments to our restroom facilities at Fillmore Elementary, basically putting single-use bathrooms in each of those rooms. With the tremendous help of Joe Quiz at ONT, Mrs. Gibney at Fillmore, and most definitely our Director of Maintenance, Jared Hutchison, we found an economical way to add 2 restrooms at Fillmore, one for the new kindergarten room and the new life skills classroom. ONT funding will pay for the addition of the life skills classroom changes, and South Putnam will pay for the new kindergarten restrooms. All those are detailed in the packets that you had, in the using a local contractor to make that all happen, and has done excellent work for us throughout the district before. Our goal is to have this renovation completed early in the summer to allow for room setup and planning for the 24-25 school year.
Does the money from that, our portion of it, is that coming from this bond issue?
No.
Separate,
It is.
right? Okay.
It'll be through our existing GO bond.
Questions or?
When is it slated to start? It's right after school ends, basically. Or is it?
Oh yes, the project. Yes, as soon as those classrooms are empty, we'll start moving on that. Yes.
And that gives enough time to get it done before the school year.
The Fillmore staff has been amazing in the transition, working through all of that. They already are preemptively planning for all of the things for the end of the year, so they have room moves and all of that in place so that we can do the project and have limited disruption.
I move to approve the Fillmore restroom update.
I second.
Holly made the motion to approve the Fillmore restroom update. We seconded it. All those in favor? Item G, consideration of Bell Union Ball Diamond lighting.
Yep. Clay Henry is here to discuss the Bell Union Ball Diamond proposal with us.
Yeah.
Okay. And the information's in your packets that you were able to review.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for the last several years, the baseball softball committee has been considering installing lighting at Bell Union. And we've been doing a lot of fundraising the last few years. We have all the funds in place. We're self-sufficient. We secured donations of labor and materials from several companies, Norman Excavating as well as Hendricks Power. Hendricks Power is going to supply all the materials at their cost and do all of the installation for us, almost all the installation for us, free of charge, and gets the cost down to where we can afford that. We don't currently have any lights on any of our diamonds, and that makes it early in the season. That makes it tough if you need to get an extra game in, etc. The reason that we're here asking for permission is just that this is a very sizable investment. We don't want to have any miscues. We don't want anybody to ask us to uninstall it later. So just want to make sure that this is all acceptable.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the league that you are in the West Central League, changed some of their games where you have doubleheaders on weeknights. Is that correct? So that's why it's a push to get lighting.
There's been a recent increase in enrollment league-wide as well as within South Putnam Youth League. It makes our schedules incredibly tight. They also select sites for tournaments based on whether those sites have lighting or not, just on the ability to handle some extra throughput, and those are huge fundraisers for nonprofits, and the ability to host those things makes us legitimate far into the future.
And so this lighting would do that?
Yes.
So there's nothing else we need besides the lighting to make that happen?
And the electricity currently, your youth league's paying for that already.
We are.
The meters.
Yep.
And whatever new meters or anything, you guys are going to cover that. What about maintenance and upkeep? I mean, you guys are already covering that with like the fences and all that kind of stuff. It kind of goes without saying, but does our contract address that in detail? Like when new things start getting added, often we'll go back and look at an agreement or contract and make sure that it covers those things. Not saying we have to like go back right now, but just
no, it's a fair point.
for
It's a fair
future-
point, Joe. On any existing capability, we handle all the maintenance and upkeep. This is adding a new capability, and it's a sizable system. Of course, we'll handle all the maintenance and upkeep going forward.
I'd say once that's in place, then we'll adjust the agreement that we have.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Discussion?
I move to approve the Bell Union ball diamond lighting.
Second.
Lee made the motion to approve the Bell Union ball diamond lighting. Joe seconded it. All those in favor? Okay. And item H, consideration of middle school, high school stage.
Mrs. Gardner is here to discuss the consideration of this new middle school, high school graduation multi-purpose stage for us.
So I started working on this last spring. Our stage that we use for graduation is very old, and it's got some wear and tear on it. We make it safe every time we use it, but it takes some work to get it there because it's just aged. And so we've got some places where the frame is disconnecting from the plywood base that's there. We have to work to get the carpet to lay down in a way that's not looking unsightly and get our skirt in place. So we definitely need a new stage. We also don't currently own a ramp, so when we need a ramp, we have to rent a ramp in that situation. So I'm proposing that we get a new stage that is reliable, easy to set up, quick to set up, and that will have a ramp as part of it. I also like the idea of this because I think it's important, because there's other times we're going to be using it. We don't use our graduation stage at any other time other than graduation because it is difficult to assemble. It's kind of if you think about like a folding table style where you fold the legs out, but because they're heavy and cumbersome, it takes a group of people to set it up. And again, a lot of time to be able to put the carpet down on top of it and put the skirt in place. So it's not a couple hour task where then you can use it that night. And if we get a new stage, I just think there's other opportunities. I worked with Mr. Champion. Looks like he's gone. Oh, there you are. You moved up. Like I was looking over your head. Because he would be somebody who might use it other than when we're using it for graduation. So I started last spring looking into this, and I just got a quick quote from a well-known company. But I waited too late into the spring to get it done in terms of ship times and being able to collect other quotes. So readdressing it this fall. Thomas went out and got another couple other companies to look at. And then, man, I started learning a lot about stages to try to understand kind of when we're comparing apples to apples. One of the quotes came in a lot lower than the other ones, surprisingly. And so I spent even more time really trying to understand why and to make sure that that would still be a good quality product. So I sent a note kind of summarizing the differences, but one of the companies, the one that it's comparable in price, but it's a different style. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find my one sheet to help. Has like a pop-out tent style. And so the problem with that pop-out tent style is you've got a million little hinges, right? And those have little pins in them. And so if you lose any of those pins, then when you try to pop out that system, you're going to have a problem in terms of just wear and tear. So just from that stylistic standpoint, that wasn't one of them that I felt comfortable recommending. That was the Stage Depot one. The Stage Depot also, when you look at like the live load, like tested live load weight, it was 150, around 150, I think it was 157. The other one that I looked at that's the well-known one is Wegner. And that's like, if you ask anybody about music risers and stuff, Wenger is the company that you hear. Like, that's the name. That quote is considerably higher than the one that I'm recommending, Staging Canadell. When I looked at Wenger, the style of it is ideal, right? It doesn't have all of those hinges. In terms of wear and tear, you've got basically a big piece of plywood that's laminated on both sides. And then it's got a skid-free coat that's on it. And then the legs it's aluminum frame around it and then aluminum legs, right? And the aluminum legs they're just a pole of aluminum, right? And then it just slides into the casing that holds it, and then you just tighten a bolt down. So you really don't have anything that's going to break over time. There's not a hinge that's going to come apart. You're just sliding a solid post and tightening the post into place. So it pops together really fast. That's the same kind of style that you see with the staging Cannondale. Both of them use that same kind of style with the aluminum posts that then just tighten in. The difference with Wenger is that they only have 4 posts per sheet, and staging Cannondale has 6. So Wenger's are only the 4 corners, and staging Cannondale has the extra 2 legs in the middle. So Wenger reinforces it by running a vertical post along the middle of the bottom of the piece of plywood, and staging Cannondale runs theirs horizontal, but again, it puts 2 feet on it, so it's carrying more weight. Staging Cannondale's is 250 pounds per square feet, and Wenger's is only 125. So you do see a difference in terms of like when people are walking across the stage, is it going to, are you going to feel it bounce a little bit? And then again, if you've got, the musicians are coming up and we've got equipment and stuff up there, again, just having a little bit more durable of a product is better. So I feel good about the style of those two are similar, and yet the cost difference is significant. I reached out, I wanted to know, okay, well, who's used staging Cannondale? And so they told me Bishop Chatard was a school that they've sold equipment to, and so I reached out to their band director there, and he got back with me and said they've had the equipment for almost 10 years, they use it regularly, and that it's done beautifully. They have not had any issues with it in terms of durability. So a 10-year warranty on it. It will have the skirt with it. We can get it in blue. It says color question mark on that because originally she quoted me on black, but they have a range of colors. There's 2 different blue colors, so we can pick out the one that's closest to our school colors. The panels clamp together so that when they're sitting side by side, you have clamps that hold the panels together so they can't separate. I'm tired of telling you too many details. I've spent a lot of time trying to kind of piece through, okay, what's the difference? Wenger, like they bolted the 2 legs together. That's how they hold the side-by-sides together. Wenger clamps the actual stage itself pieces together. So minor differences in their styling, but significant difference in price. So that's why I'm recommending staging Cannondale.
Which one was the one that had held more weight?
The staging Cannondale, the one I'm recommending.
What's the weight limit of our existing stage?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it is plywood pieces, and it does actually have the 6 legs. So I would say it's comparable. In its prime condition, probably very comparable.
How old is it?
That was going to be
Is it original?
Probably 1969.
It might be original.
Oh.
I mean, the styling is definitely not something recently done when you look at it.
And I didn't get a chance to look at this specific,
Okay.
the whole thing. This does include carpet or not?
It doesn't have carpet. It has a non-skid surface on it,
So
which is
you wouldn't need carpet anymore.
no, and they offer carpet, but they say and honestly, that's usually buy it too, the way they're describing it.
Okay, and so what else is it going to be used for? So Mr. Champion, you would use it the same thing or similar to what you've already been using? I mean,
it would definitely allow us to be able to utilize it for our performances, especially like when we do our big end of the year performance in the gym and things like that.
do you use the one we have now? No, because why?
Because it is so complicated to maneuver and takes so many people to set up. When they set it up for graduation, it takes a whole day with a team of about 5 people, where this new system would take 2 people probably 2 hours.
Are you familiar with this company? As far as bands, do you know anything about what was it called, staging Cannondale?
I'm not overly familiar with them.
Okay.
Not as much as, like she said, Wenger is the one that you hear everybody talk about. But I mean, looking at both of them, I'm inclined to go with that stage Cannondale as well.
I mean, I'm assuming it's multi-purpose, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's just for, yeah.
I mean, you can imagine any situation where you might want, it's 24 inches off the floor, right? And you could set up all of the sheets, right? All 16 sheets and make the big stage like we do at graduation, or you could set up 4 of the sheets, right? You could set up, and then you've got steps on both sides. So, I mean, there could be, anything that you could imagine you needing a stage for, and it comes with the rolling carts. That's part of the bid. So they'll be on carts, and the big sheets are there, and then at the end they've got like a little rectangle where you drop down the legs so it all stays together, so you don't have to worry about things getting lost. Yeah, it has its own ramp cart, like it's made specifically for the ramp, so the pieces.
Where will you store it?
Probably down in the middle school, kind of back across from the middle school science rooms. There's a room back in there that has some industrial things back in there. Some of our, I can't tell you exactly what's back in there. I apologize for that, but it also leads to what we call the hallway to nowhere, which is the hallway that actually goes to the ag department, but then comes back out. So right off of there's a mechanical room, and in that mechanical room, there's an empty room next to the mechanical room, and so different, like we've stored extra doors and different things in there over the years, so that's where I would probably put them. Now, eventually, when in new construction, we can talk about maybe in the additional storage. We might be able to slide them in there because that'd make them a little bit more accessible. But either way, they'd be easy to roll out and get wherever we need them. So I'm excited about having a portable stage that we could use for other purposes.
Okay, so when we were talking about our project, we talked about the stage and we ran out of money before before we got to that. But is this something that would help that situation? Can you use this in conjunction with the stage that we have to extend it when you need that to be extended? Or is this something that, and maybe Andy can talk to us about that too, if we're going to do anything at all, is this helpful, or should we wait until we find out what we're going to do, if we can do anything with the stage that we have?
I'll say this is independent.
Well, this is the graduation stage, right? So if we don't purchase this, then we won't have if we needed something, I guess that, I don't know if that's answering your question.
I see what you're trying to say. Like,
right.
Yeah, I don't want to waste money on
stone,
something, but
something else that you could spend the same amount of money on that would be dual purpose or don't fit the existing project or something like that. But I think what she's saying is this will kind of cover all those bases. Like it will allow Mr. Champion to use it. It will allow, it'll be a multi-use item.
And if we want to, I'm sorry. If we want to add more components later, like right now we got to the 24-inch legs, but there are taller legs. Like if we wanted to do that later, if we needed it for a purpose, if there's backdrops you can buy where it has like the little black curtain that can go behind it. I mean, you can add additional accessories. When I received information from Bishop Chittard, they actually do have differently shaped pieces that extend out part of their stage. So I think if this is a product that we like and we find that we need some more pieces for something else because we find that we start using it a lot, we know, hey, here's a company we can go back to and get some extra panels or pieces, and we know it's a cost-effective option as opposed to the other ones that we got. So I think that's exciting too because it could be a little bit of add and expand, I guess.
One question I have. We had so many of our public work sessions when we're talking about our current building project, and everyone presented their wish lists and what is our biggest needs currently. And if this was kind of in the books and looking since last spring, I guess I just find it puzzling that we're just now hearing about it. When
5 hours ago was when
I just see this, and and you say we're talking about last spring, and I remember hearing all these wish lists, and how can we incorporate your wish list into the new building project? And I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think part of. I'm sorry.
I think this would be in addition to a project. Like, this is not like what I would consider.
Could have been incorporated into our.
I just think that's two completely different things.
last fall, and we're just now getting any kind of, hey, we need this, and then this dollar figure. I mean, literally, I didn't even get a chance to look at my email today, so until I walk in here, this is the first time that I see that you want to spend $22,000 with no heads up or anything. I'm not saying you don't need it, I'm just saying it's kind of disappointing that here you go, take a look at this. You may not even have looked at it till you got in here because you worked all day, but that's disappointing thing that I find about.
I just think she's done her research, and now she's getting us the information. I don't think it was last minute decision. Obviously, she's done her research since last spring.
But the quotes are they've been revised, 220 and 218, and it's 221. That's what I'm saying. I'm I'm not saying you didn't do your homework, I'm not saying you don't need it, I'm just saying I have a hard time getting information, and now I have to give a vote with no talking about budget or funding or anything like that. That's
I understand, and I apologize for the note. Part of it was this is partly my fault for not pulling the trigger earlier. I felt this sort of pained feeling of like, because I'm not proposing the company that everybody knows. Like, I just kept going back to this and just being, I just kept picking it apart to make sure I wasn't missing something. And then finally hearing from somebody that could speak to the product. And so I was slow in that process of getting the information to you because I kept combing back through it and just wanting to make sure that when we were talking about this amount of money, that I felt like I understood the product as well as I possibly could prior to asking for something like that. I think I didn't think about it in terms of the project just because it's not something that's a permanent thing. It's not built in. And so our project never really involved the gym and those kinds of things. And we always have graduation in the gym. And so I guess in my mind, it kind of was just like, oh, it's a separate thing because that's when I kind of label it in my head, like, what is this? It's mainly the graduation stage. And so I apologize for not bringing it up before then. I guess I kind of saw it as a separate thing. And then when we talked about, okay, well, if we're going to have a new stage and it's actually easier to move and easier to function, we wouldn't just have to use it one time a year. Oh gosh, we could use it. Thomas could use it and he could use it during his concerts. And then he's not out there with his family trying to build things himself. And it's like, oh, we'd have this pop together unit. And then maybe we could actually use it for more things, and teachers would have some more flexibility to be able to.
Tana, if we don't approve it tonight, and we move it until next month, does that put timeline out so that you may not have it for graduation, or
They said about 6 weeks is about the time. So, I mean, it gives me some margin right now. My thinking is if I can get it in a little early, then I can make sure I've got it set up and I can make sure that there's not, I'm not 5 feet short on the skirt for some reason, or, you know what I mean, just for that peace of mind. Is there additional information I could get you between now and then that would help that? Is there something that you feel like, is there something like I can explain in these or something that would help clarify? I know if you say you're just getting kind of a chance to look at it.
I don't think that. I just, for future, I think as a board, we'd appreciate when we're spending that kind of money that we would have more of a chance to go over it. Not saying that you didn't do your homework, but I mean, we're responsible for the finances. So just so that we can get an understanding what line is that coming from?
Yeah.
Is this going to hinder anything else that we may need? But anyways, that's the only thing that I would ask for.
Candidly, there's nothing like driving home going, gosh, did I ask the right questions before I agreed with a $75,000 purchase?
Yeah.
And I say 25, but I see it's 22. But the other thing that pops into my head is we'll sometimes agree to something and the price looks good and everything, then come to find out we see in the dockets that, oh, it cost an extra this to install it, or this fee wasn't covered, and we haven't had a chance to have those conversations. And part of our responsibility is oversight and making sure that we're asking you all the right questions so that you can ask your suppliers the right questions in case something's overlooked. So I think that's where you're coming from.
Right. And that's a huge thing. There's $10,000 for virtually the same. I mean, they say it's the same product, but is it really?
Well, you're not seeing here.
So what fund would it come from?
And we have a year to spend that, correct? That deal on
It's usually a 2 to 3 year period. So that's the newer one for 22. And we had started talking about that last year. I had this money set aside for the 40,000 because that was the initial quote we got a year ago from the other company, and that's why I've had the money set aside in the geo bond. It's already line item in there. And I'm just
those are things that we would have liked to
Are there other things?
That was my only.
And that's what I was looking for on here was delivery
Okay.
time. I think you answered the question, but it does mention delivery costs do not include offloading at the customer's location.
Which we
I'm
will
ass- I'm
offload
assuming-
ourselves, correct? I mean, we have
You got
a.
a forklift.
There's not an installation because we'll put the pieces together and things. So I feel like it's all inclusive. And I agree with you. There was such a price difference, and again, that's probably why it took so long with it. Just to feel like I could understand it, read through it, talk to them, ask lots of questions. Feel a lot better getting a customer that can speak for the durability of it, because it feels like when I read the products, they're all using a piece of plywood, right? They're using aluminum frames and aluminum legs. And so it's just really the quality of durability, like how do those things stand up? That surface that you're walking on, how does that stand up?
Was
And
there a difference in the thickness of the plywood between
No,
the two? Do you
no,
know?
And really,
Well, we didn't have enough feet, but I mean, that would be
Still, I mean, it's still holding.
a question.
and honestly, like if you look at it, the stage pieces themselves, there's not as big a discrepancy on the stage pieces. One of the big discrepancies is the cost of the ramp. It's like Wenger charged a lot for that ramp, and Staging Canadell had a lower price for that. So that's one of the places where you see a big price difference. There's also a little bit of kind of picking you to death with Wenger a little bit. Like, so the legs, so the cart for Staging Canadell, you have the panels and then the legs drop down in this little rectangle to store them. In Wenger, you don't have that little rectangle to drop the legs down in. They want you to have a clip that goes on the underside of the panel and then you clip the legs to it, but they charge you for the clips. And then like the things that strap the legs together when the panels are side by side, Wenger charges you for those clamps that hold the legs together. So there's a little bit of that nickel and diming that you get that adds that price up. But honestly, one of the big chunks was the difference in the price of the ramp.
And the color you're talking about, that's just the skirting.
The skirting we can get in like a blue color. The stage itself will be a black color. And so Wenger did have more choices on colors than Staging Canadell. If I went with Wenger, I would have gone with this, they call it crackled ice. So it's not quite black. So if it gets a little dust on it, you don't see the dust as much.
Price could be cheaper because its head office is in Saskatchewan and not even in the United States. Just that caught my eye. I'm like, okay.
Any other questions or comments, concerns?
I move to approve the, sorry.
Middle school.
I lost it. Yeah, that's what's there.
Second.
Joe made the motion to approve the middle school, high school stage. Lee seconded that. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, other business. Meeting Howie project update. Andy Miller and David Roan. Welcome and thank you for.
Thank you for the opportunity to come back to you guys and give you an update. Sorry we missed you last month, but I promise from here on out we'll do the monthly updates to keep you guys up and appraised of everything. This is David Roan. David is our team lead and project manager for this, so he is the master puppet behind everything. I'm just standing up here, introducing things to you. So. David's been working hard with Dr. Smith and a great administrative team. Everybody's been great to work with, and we've really taken the design to the next level. And David's going to kind of go over that here in the presentation, and then I'll talk a little bit about schedule, document delivery, and some of those other things that go along with it. So go ahead and let David take it away.
Right. So So give everybody an update on all the projects that we're working on. We'll start with the Fieldhouse addition. So as Andy had mentioned, we've worked particularly hard the last several weeks with Dr. Smith and his team in looking at all these projects on a whole, particularly in light of the overall budget and making sure that we maximize the dollars that we have. And so where that's led us is to positioning our Fieldhouse addition on the north end of the existing building, just north of the existing pool facility. And so that allows us some nice efficiencies to be able to maximize the footprint and the space within the new Fieldhouse. And so that's what you'll see on the screen there in blue is our new addition area. And so it's, again, as I said, offers some nice advantages. It locates the Fieldhouse, somewhat centrally to your indoor athletic facilities with the pool and the gym, your existing locker spaces nearby. What it also does from a design perspective is it allows us to create this kind of nice entry focal point to your building adjacent to the current existing main entrance while still allowing the Fieldhouse to exist within itself. So again, some nice opportunities there. And in red on this screen here is really a very limited interior renovation area, so that adds to the overall efficiency that we talked about. So just some highlights on where we're at with this particular project. We're about 30% complete as far as design, moving towards what we call design development stage, which is about that 60 to 70% design completion. And so we anticipate design being complete in May of this year for a June phase.
One of the things too, I know that we had talked early on about positioning this field house on the south side of the building. It presented a lot of challenges and also increased the square footage of renovation area. And so at some point, we just we flipped to this north side in order to find a better solution, because it really taking away that building on the south side and everything, it just the new construction became too large.
With it positioned here, I know we talked about the capability later down the road to add onto this. Room-wise, is that, I mean, I feel like you're taking up quite a bit of space there. Is that something that is still an option to add another court at a later date?
Yes, absolutely. And so we will design this so that end point is expandable. And so other bays can be put onto this. You can see the middle school portion there, and it's offset. So you do still have area in the parking lot to expand this building further.
Displacement of parking lot space. Have you guys been working on that simultaneously?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to work through that to make sure that you still have the capabilities to park, the appropriate amount of vehicles. So that, one of the problems with being sited on the south side is that circular movement of vehicles around the building and buses. And so this affords that, doesn't cut off the traffic flow.
Yeah, so take a little closer look at our floor plan here to give you an understanding of where things are at. So towards the west end of the building, you'll see in purple there, these are our locker rooms and public restrooms to serve this Fieldhouse addition. And so then just south of that is your main entry point for the Fieldhouse. And so again, that lends itself to this corridor which connects back to the existing building and allows those two to exist separately but near each other. And as Andy's mentioned, one of those next stages for us in design is understanding how this affects the site and your overall traffic patterns. Central corner, if you will, for looking at the building as a whole creates a nice opportunity for some circular drop-off to maintain that traffic flow and then exit back to the north as well. And so
yellow custodial, those are doors, right? So that's.
Correct.
Okay.
That's your main entry vestibule for the field house.
Okay.
And so as you work your way around towards the south, there, that yellow shaded space is storage and mechanical space. And so that is what connects back to your existing building. And it's a nice, generously sized storage space, which, we've spent a lot of time here the last couple of months in your building, field verifying and just looking at your existing conditions and seeing that, having dedicated specific storage areas would be a tremendous benefit for any building project addition like this. And so this layout affords that large space to store all of your loose athletic equipment, custodial equipment, supplies, things of that nature. So this is, as I said, a very generous storage area. This layout positioning building on the north end really lends itself to that.
Seating wise, how those two bins, what, like, in your mind, how many can we seat at each gym?
I'd have to look a little bit at capacity, and in fact, that's something that Corey mentioned to us just this week, is looking into, is there an opportunity for permanent bleacher seating? So I don't have a specific number for you, I apologize.
No,
What we do show, though, is the tip and rolls. So you have the flexibility to bring in those aluminum bleachers, set them up, if you needed just one court or both courts to afford that capability.
and does this have a, like upstairs, like, is there, like, any?
No, there's no mezzanine in this one, no mezzanine or second floor. It's all open space, which again lends itself to the overall efficiency of the building.
Restrooms are adequate for spectators. Should we have spectators in there as well? Yes.
And I saw in the first screen that there was additional pool seating, like, possibly, I see that in the first screen, it said.
No, I don't think so.
For viewing.
For viewing, right. So we're looking into how can we, either create a glass framed opening similar to what's there now, or some other type of opening to allow for additional viewing into the pool area from that corridor and commons type of space there.
So that has challenges that we're obviously looking at to give you another opportunity.
So is there a way to move it further north and have more dead space, quote, until a later date where you could add pool seating? Or,
Like
I mean,
where
if
that
you're
storage
busting
area
that
is at, is
wall-
what you're talking about? Because that used to be a glass wall, where that wall, where the pool's at and the storage area combined, that used to be a glass wall, so I would think if, what she's talking about, you could, and maybe put some seating in that, I don't know, connect that somehow, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's
There's a
not.
possibility for that type of opportunity. Part of the challenge with this is understanding some code limitations with this new addition as well as your existing building. So the existing building is a non-sprinklered building. With our new addition, the overall size and square footage effectively mandates that it needs to be sprinklered, and so that also then requires you to have a 2-hour fire-rated wall between the two. And so understanding how to maintain that is part of that challenge, which makes itself a little difficult to open that space up. Gotcha.
But we will definitely keep our options open and see if there's anything
It would be great if you could add
to the
seating.
design.
I mean, if you're already messing with that side of the building, it was a little more would be amazing.
So you're saying you wouldn't take out that wall?
Correct.
Yeah,
The existing exterior wall would remain.
But we could possibly do something with openings, or we'll look at all the options.
So just to finish off this slide here, over on the east end of the building in blue is a new weight room and a wrestling room. And so the weight room is effectively the same size, if not a little bit larger than what you currently have. And then the wrestling room, of course, is effectively identical in size to that, to afford a dedicated space for that program.
As far as the northwest corner on your locker rooms, how close are we getting to the tennis courts?
No,
You're still quite a ways off from that. Yeah.
You still have about half of your parking lot. Okay.
And then just looking at the exterior of the building, again, a fun challenge that we've been working through the last week or so is how do we, with this building being positioned towards the main entry of your building, how do we marry these two together so that they aren't so drastically different, and looking at this a holistic approach to the overall building. And so we've got a preliminary exterior elevation here, and what we're showing is to play off of those existing materials that you have around your current building. So you see the vertical brick elements with the alternating colors that you have featured throughout the building, and then transitioning that to more modern metal panel. And so again, just looking at how we can marry those two together and make this a cohesive design for the new addition.
So those windows there, those look into the hallway.
Right, that would be your connecting corridor.
And
so
on
you
the other side of the hallway would be the pool
connector.
windows, or is
Essentially.
Okay.
Okay, so speaking of the pool, is one of our other projects that we're working on. And so we recently wrapped up design on the renovation work for the pool facility. And so the central piece, the largest piece of those renovation is replacing your existing pool pack air handler, which is going to be a tremendous improvement for that space to increase your overall air efficiency and your air quality in there to make that a better environment for those users. Then additional pool renovation elements, so replacing the existing gutter system, which is in poor condition, of course. I think there's wood blocks out there holding up some of these pool gutter systems, so I think it's due for some upgrades there. And then replacing the liner as well, which has some damages and deterioration as well. So as I said, we have design complete on this particular piece. We'll put this one and speak to the bidding and procurement a little more towards the end. But we anticipate this one going out more in line with the Fieldhouse addition project to allow us to better evaluate and see where overall budgets and costs.
What kind of gutters, do you know yet? What kind of gutters are we putting in?
It's a stainless steel gutter system, and so it will utilize the existing channel that's there to avoid tearing into your existing pool walls or deck, that sort.
So it wouldn't be one that's level with the deck. It would still be dropped down. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is level with the border of the pool itself, and so there is a transition piece there. So there is a difference in height at the deck itself, but it would be flush with the pool, so it's easy exit out of the pool with that gutter system.
Well, okay, so what I'm wondering is, when we have an audience there that are really close, are their feet going to get any more wet with a new gutter system than they already are with the one we had?
That is a good question, and we can ask our pool consultant on that. We didn't anticipate any challenges with getting the water out of the gutter system. Now the new caps for that system will reduce that splash out, obviously, because it controls that, it tamps that wave down. So I can't guarantee that it'll be 100% dry, but there will be a much better condition there. because everything will be at the proper height and it'll have the ability to tamp that down.
Our next project is roof replacements, which I identify as a high priority, of course. And so the vast majority of your existing roof system is a spray foam coated roof system, which is experiencing failures throughout, which is causing the maintenance team here to consistently be chasing leaks on a regular basis. And so the yellowish green areas there are identified as top priority areas. Those are what's in the worst condition, and so that will be within the replacement scope. And then area 2 in the blue there on the high school is kind of the second lowest priority, and so we anticipate bidding that one as an alternate, again needing to see where the final dollars land as far as how much we can get for that. The design will include both of those areas.
And the idea of an alternate is to protect your dollars, to make sure that we can get the maximum amount of fit and construction for your bond monies.
So then the final project that we have under design is our track and field renovations. And so the track and field itself, again, this just recently wrapped up design, and we have this one out for bids as well. Those bids will come in at the end of the month, and so that's replacing your natural grass football field with a brand new artificial turf system. You see the graphic plan shown on this slide here, which we're working this week with Dr. Smith and his team to tweak and make final adjustments to those graphics, and then the track will get a recoating of a new surface, as well as replacement of a few select areas that have settled and are starting to show points of failure throughout. So it's really going to transform that space out there and be really a top-notch facility for your student athletes to compete on. I think we're all really excited to see that transformation that will take place this summer out there. And then the other piece to that is replacement of your current athletic lighting and PA system. And so we're issuing that as a separate package, and we have that under design currently, targeting a completion of March 1st on the design, which we can then go and put that one out to bid as well, so that construction for that can run concurrently with the football field track renovations. That is it on projects. Andy, I'll let you speak a little more on the procurement and budget side of things.
Okay, so over to the right, David's touched on some of this, but just to kind of put a bow on it, the track and field, MKS has completed the pre-bid for that project, and had people here to look at the facility and some of the existing conditions. They are telling us there's very high interest on the plan rooms in this project, which is good. More competition, the better. The bid date is on the 29th of this month, and must-go purchase order for the lighting systems is moving forward, and so those are really gaining traction and should have some dollar amounts here on your next update. Go ahead.
I thought you just said that the design for the lighting wasn't until March 1st.
Right. So in looking at these schedules, the good news is Musco was involved very early on and developed a lighting layout. And so what we've done as a design team, our electrical engineers, they have effectively point B, if you will. We just need to figure out where from point A and how do we get to point B in terms of the power. So that's what's still under design. We know where the lights are going to be, and that's what allows that purchase order to be in place early and gain us that additional time.
So the infrastructure won't change, but how they're fed and some of that engineering pieces of those are still under design. Pool renovations, estimate is being updated. And as David noted, this will bid as an alternate to the field house package. Not a lot of long lead time on that equipment, so it can comfortably bid with the field house and be included in that package.
Question on that would be before season, before swim season?
I'm not sure. I will have to ask that in KS. I know that they figured out all of that schedule, and so I can update you. Yeah.
The air handler
So,
would be.
I'll just state that we've made those timeline goals, and they, we'll meet those as much as we possibly can.
I guess the liner and the gutter would allow the students to use that facility.
The goal in all of this is the least disruption possible to seasons as we can make.
Yeah,
And as full renovation, the liner, the gutter, as you said, those can effectively be done independently from the air handler portion of this project.
Roof placements, we're working on the front end documents. Anticipate document release in first week of March, around in there. So we'll get that out, obviously out to the plan rooms as well, and generate interest and hopefully get good bids on that. We talked about the alternates, protecting your money. So we're very cognizant of the overall budget, make sure that all these Jenga pieces, fit together when we get to the end here. And then the field house, that David had reviewed, design development documents will be completed on March 21st. And then MKS will take that in, give a budget estimate on the 1st of April. And so that will, once again, that'll start to get all these puzzle pieces to work together. So everything's moving. Like I said, we've timed a lot of this out really well. I think there is continued contractor interest, and we'll continue to beat the bushes and make sure that everybody knows what's coming up.
So with the update to the design being back in the school now to from the school, and this kind of ties back into the original plan was that space that's the weight room now, offsetting that stuff so that we can put educational space in there. Where's the planning start with that piece of it, and the funding and all that? And that's a big selling point for that extra space, that extra auxiliary gym space, was it's going to offset for educational. So I'm curious to know where that comes into this whole project.
Sure, great question. So the left side of this slide here, those are that long list of priority projects, initiatives done in South Carolina that we worked with Andy very early on to identify and work our way through. The red line there, that's kind of where our $20 million budget is currently at. So those 5 projects we just spoke through and talked about, that's what's in that dollar amount currently. Everything below that line is currently out. And so that would include those renovations to that space on the interior. Good news is, though, of course, you have that field house, you have that future space to move everything into, so that those interior renovations could take place at a later date.
The goal will be, we have contingencies in place. I already know all of this, so that we will. So as soon as the weight room moves out of there, we will look at what it is that we will be doing to there. We're not gonna. It won't. The renovation won't be as extensive as what we think it will be. We'll have funding to make it happen. We've already talked about it.
We could use geo bonds.
There's lots of different funding mechanisms for it.
And the great problem that you would have is it's an open space. So you've got an open palette, easily divided or designed out per your educational program.
That program will be moving in there as soon as it's available.
So that hasn't changed. So that those original conversations,
correct,
selling points for
none of that's
adding on to the auxiliary gym is still the same.
Everything is still in place.
Moving the ag powers there ASAP.
Correct. That absolutely. And there won't be. And we talked about that. The renovations aren't nearly what we thought they were going to be for the ag powers program. So,
meaning it's not going to cost as much, or we're not going to do as much.
Both. We won't need to do as much as we thought we were going to need to do to make it happen.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all your work. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Sorry. So I just have a fairly brief report tonight. The first thing I want to do is an athletic update. We're wrapping up our winter season, and Mrs. Gardner is here just to give us a very quick recap of the season so far. Seasons, I should say.
Yeah, so just kind of an update where we're at. So wrestling, we placed 5th in our WIC conference. We had regional qualifiers, Aiden Needles and Keenan Mowry Shields, and also Noah Redmond. And then in terms of semi-state, both Aiden and Keenan qualified for semi-state. Congratulations to him. That was an extraordinary moment for the school and for him personally. That was exciting. Girls basketball, we placed 6th in the WIC. We had a winning season and we were county champs this year. We do have an all-conference player, but that hasn't been announced yet, so I won't announce that tonight. Boys basketball, we're still in season. Kind of a highlight, Drew Hill did get up on the board as having over 1,000 points. I don't know his total as of right now, but I can tell you it's over 1,090 because that's his dad's total, and so that was an important moment for him to beat Dad. So they play in sectionals against Greencastle Wednesday, so we're looking forward to supporting them on that. So. Girls swimming, extraordinary year for them. County champs and WIC conference champs, amazing work for them. School records, we want to call out. Pastori had 3 this year, so 50 free, 100 breaststroke, and 200 IM. Callie was also part of a group that had the 400 free group that also broke a school record, so that was Callie, and then Josie Helton, Elise Kendall, and Megan Bumgardner. So congratulations to them for breaking school records this year. Conference champs included Callie Pastori, Josie Helton, Megan Bumgardner, Elise Kendall, and Bella Fanning. And Callie also had a 2nd place in sectionals. So it's only that top one that goes, but really close with that 2nd place finish. Our boys swimming also won county and WIC, so congratulations to them. For conference champs, we had Wyatt Kendall, Keaton Shue, Luke Hutchison, Brent Cunningham, Logan Johnson, and Jonah Taylor. And Brent Cunningham also had a 2nd place sectional finish. So again, really close to going to that next level. So congratulations to our swim program, really standing out in our conference, and that's a big deal because we've got a big conference and really
Thank you. You're welcome. I'm going to add to that as well. And this is the latest rendition from Fanning Howie and Ernzo at Fanning Howie as far as the field. There's some updated graphics and so forth on there. This is the most recent edition that we received after this afternoon. So I don't know if they've even seen it yet. They may have been on the road when I got it. But anyway, this is the most recent. I just put it up there so you guys can look at it later as well. Moving on real quickly, just to wrap up. Previously mentioned, we're very excited to increase the student opportunities at Fillmore Elementary with the preschool and the O&T Life Skills program. If all goes as planned, we're anticipating a 25 to 30% increase in students at Fillmore next year, which is great to get more student bodies out there and fill up our space that we have out there and utilize that. Very dramatic change for Fillmore with a 25 to 30% increase in students, but Mrs. Gibney and her staff have handled this transition with understanding and professionalism, knowing we're doing what's best for students and maximizing our building as well. So great teamwork all around out there. Very, very proud of that team. It's a big change. So our PD day on Monday went amazingly well. We continue to look for ways to enhance our instructional practices and increase student performance. That's what professional development is all about. Teachers and administrators were actively involved in the training throughout the day, and I received many positive feedback from staff members and administrators and teachers from the trainings. I want to thank publicly Prindle Institute for allowing us to use their facilities their training facility for our science of reading training. So we're ahead of the curve with all this legislation with science of reading. We're on the cutting edge of our training with our staff. Very, very proud of them. Spring break is just around the corner. I'm saying that because it was 60 whatever degrees today. So it's just around the corner. We're hoping winter's on its way out. That's what we're hoping for. But we know, that can change at a moment's notice here in Indiana. Spring break is March 18th through the 22nd. So it'll be the week after our next board meeting, which Ms. Cooper will announce here in just a little bit. And then funny thing, as of today, we are 2/3 of the way through our school year. This was the 120th day of the school year. There are 60 student days left after today. There's a lot of learning left to do, but we have a lot of formal testing in that window's coming up real soon as well. So I know our staff's working really, really hard to get our students ready to go for those formal testing windows. Other than that, that's all I have for you tonight.
If there's nothing else, we will adjourn.
Before you adjourn.
Yes. See, that comes after.
You adjourn and then you.
Our next meeting will be held here on Wednesday, March 13th at 6 o'clock p.m. Okay.